Wow, if everybody was this disciplined where I perform, I wouldn't have as many problems. I'd like to mention before we go on that our first speaker this morning was BZ Smith, and we should mention an award that she just received. BZ has been a member for 30 years of the National Storytelling Network, and she has won the Oracle Award for Service and Leadership in the Pacific region. And she'll be headed to Texas in July to receive that award. So, BZ, congratulations. I also want to mention our sponsors who have been very, very generous. As you can see, the furniture here has been donated for this by Hausers, and we greatly appreciate that. Also, Golden State Cellular, I think you see their presence everywhere. One of our major sponsors. Motherlode Internet is supplying the Wi-Fi, giving us our bandwidth. Front Porch made generous donations and allowed us to give the deep discount for the nonprofits. And also the Sonora Area Foundation contributed. So to all of our generous sponsors and to all the volunteers, Patty Cherry and her artwork and all of the rest of the people that have worked so hard that we're not even mentioning, thank you very, very much. We'll get on with it now. Our next speaker is somebody that you have seen come up here quite a few times already, Greg Falken. Greg has lived in Tuolumne County since 1993. In 1995, he founded Webdancers, an internet service company that builds WordPress websites and helps organizations develop online strategies and tools. He has watched the internet evolve from a curiosity into an integral part of everyday life and is excited to be part of whatever the future may bring. I should also add that Greg has been a great friend to me and has been the IT guy that I've been going to for the 12 years that I've lived up here. So, Greg, you're on.
I'm going to stand out here so that I can be really nervous too. If any of you had seen the program as of about a week ago, you'll know that this slot was previously occupied by Ilana Burke. She was unfortunately not able to make it today. She had a family emergency and wishes everybody well. And I also tried to find other replacements for Ilana. Contacted a couple of really good speakers who couldn't make it at the last minute, so I thought, well, I'll turn this into a serendipitous event and take the slot myself. There's been and will be some really great speakers up on the stage today who have talked about the practical and the profitable aspects of social networking, and I'm here to take the sort of la-la approach to social media and talk about serendipity. Serendipity, my favorite definition is by Jeff Jarvis, who's a social critic and a professor of journalism at City University in New York, who says that serendipity is unexpected relevance. And social networks are a really fertile breeding ground for unexpected relevance. One of my main goals and the thing that I recommend to people when they ask me about social media and the goal of it is you need to build a network. You need to build a network of people that you are interested in listening to and who in turn hopefully are interested in the things that you have to say. And this kind of networking can take place online or offline, and in fact, it usually needs to take place in both places. I'm also a member of Business Network International, where we do everything based on networking, but it's all in-person networking. And of course, since I'm online for so much of my day, it makes a lot of sense for me, and it's comfortable for me to build out my network on Twitter and Facebook and the blogs that I read and the people who read mine. When I'm listening to people that I'm interested in, I find that good things happen. or at least interesting things happen. And I want to give you a few examples. Last year, or let me start a little bit ahead of that. There's a group of people here in Sonora who put out a site called the Incident Feed, and they do a Twitter stream as well. And what the Incident Feed people do is they monitor the emergency frequencies. They listen to the police band and the fire band. And when there's something that is going on in the county that's of interest to people, they repeat it. So I knew about them, and one day last summer I was sitting out at our community swimming pool, which is about 4 miles that way, and I saw an ambulance go up into the subdivision. And so I pulled out my phone and I tweeted to @IncidentFeed and said, hey, do you know anything about what's going on up there in Ponderosa Hills? I just saw an ambulance go by. No answer. So, okay, I guess it's not anything too significant, so we just went on with our day. About a week later, I was at a friend's house in downtown Sonora, and I get an alert on my phone, and it's from Incident Feed. And it says, were you aware there is a fire in Ponderosa Hills? Which I was not. And if you know anything about summers in Ponderosa Hills, that's a pretty alarming message to get. So I immediately headed back up the hill, and as I was going up the hill, there were fire vehicles going down the hill. And I thought, well, that should be a good sign. They're going the opposite direction. And sure enough, when I got home, the fire had been contained within the building where it started. But if I hadn't mentioned to Incident Feed that I live in Ponderosa Hills, if they didn't know my Twitter handle, I never would have gotten that message. So it was keeping that information flowing in both directions that provided some pretty valuable information to me. Last week, Tom McGuire put a video on his Facebook page of a Paul Simon concert. I don't know if any of you saw the retweet that I did of that on Facebook. That was an amazing video. It was started out, obviously, in between songs at a Paul Simon concert, and he had just introduced the next song coming up. A woman in one of the first rows of the audience says, hey, I learned how to play guitar on that song. And he says, really? You learned to play guitar from this song? Why don't you come up? Come on up. And he spends the next couple of minutes doing this. And she finally comes up, and he hands her his guitar. Says, why don't you play it for us? She's shaking. She put that guitar on, I'm sure, so she wouldn't drop it. And she starts to play. And she's actually pretty good. And then the band comes in. And Paul Simon's standing in the back just saying, keep going, keep going. And she played the whole song all the way through. At the end of each verse, he said, keep going, do another one. And I watched this performance, and it kind of choked me up. And I rebroadcast that video on Facebook, and I got a message. Well, I didn't get the message. It was a comment on my post from a friend of mine who said, I showed that to my husband, and it choked him up too. And her husband isn't on Facebook, never looks at it. He never would have seen this. And when I saw that message, I realized that's exactly the person that I would have wanted to know about this video. And he ended up being able to see it. And of course, the reason that we're all here in this room is due to serendipity. If I hadn't started posting comments on Becky McCrae's blog, who you'll be hearing from in the afternoon, I wouldn't have ever gotten connected up with her network of people who, at some point, and I can't really even remember when this happened, but at some point I became aware of the 140 Characters Conference and that first small town event in Hutchinson, Kansas, and went, oh, okay, that's something that I want to find out about. And I went on just the value of a few notices and tweets, and spent 3 days going back and forth to Hutchinson and a day at the conference, and it was fantastic. And at that time, I met up with Jeff Pulver in the lobby and said, how do we bring it to California? And he said, well, we're talking about that. And then early this year, he made it possible for people to do local 140 conferences, and I signed up right away. So we're going to do one here. And that was back in February, and we've been working on it ever since. So the key to making serendipity happen is doing your part. You have to be putting that information out there to your network. That you want to be putting out the information that you think is just as valuable as the information that you would want to receive back. And not all of it will resonate with every person. Some of it will be completely meaningless. But you just need to develop it as a habit. Make it part of your daily routine to be putting information out there and receiving information back. You really don't know the effect that you're going to have on people in your network and then the people in the networks that they have until you do it and you discover the beauty and really the magic that happens when you expand those networks out just as far as you can and see what comes back in the way of serendipitous content. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much. And I'm being reminded to remind all of you to let the people in your networks know that we are live streaming this, so people can watch as we speak. Actually, they're going to watch about 5 minutes after we speak because of the way that the video streaming works. But they can go to our website at centralsierra.140conf.com, and they will see a link that says Watch Live. Click on that, and you can be a part of us too. Anyway, thank you very much.